I was sitting with a patient last week. She's 74, sharp as a tack, still walks her dog every morning. And she looked at me right across the desk and said, "Doctor, am I doing okay? Am I falling apart?" And I remember just pausing for a second because, it struck me. Here is a woman who, by every measure I could name, was doing beautifully, and she had absolutely no idea. That's what brought me here today. Because here's the thing I've learned after decades of caring for people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. Most people who are aging well have no idea they're aging well. And most people who are slowly losing ground also have no idea. The warning signs are quiet. The good signs are quiet too. Nobody's handing out report cards. And so people just worry. Or worse, they assume everything is fine when it isn't. So today I want to change that. I'm going to walk you through 7 specific signs, things I actually look for when I'm evaluating a patient, that tell me whether someone is truly aging well or quietly losing ground they don't know they're losing. We're going to go through them one at a time. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to genuinely check yourself against each one, not to feel good or bad about the answer, just to know, because knowing is everything. Knowing is where change begins. And before we get into it, I'm Dr. Julian Throne. I've spent my whole career in geriatric medicine, which is the branch of medicine devoted entirely to the health of older adults. I've sat with thousands of people through this season of life. I've seen what aging badly looks like, and I've seen what aging extraordinarily well looks like. And I promise you, it is so much less about genes and luck than most people believe. It comes down to a handful of specific, measurable things that you can actually do something about, every single one of them. Now, I want to start with something that might seem a little strange to open with. Not a physical test, not a balance check, not anything you'd expect from a doctor. I want to start with a question, and the question is this: did you learn anything new in the last month? Stay with me, because this matters more than almost anything else we're going to talk about. One of the most persistent myths in medicine, and it took us an embarrassingly long time to correct it, was the idea that the aging brain was essentially finished. That at some point the connections stop forming and the mind just gradually winds down. We used to believe that. We were wrong, completely demonstrably wrong. What we now know is that the brain maintains its ability to grow new connections literally for your entire life. Every time you learn something, every time you challenge your thinking, you are physically building and reinforcing neural pathways. Your brain is not a fixed thing. It is a living, responding, changeable organ. Now, here's what this means practically. The older adults I see who are sharpest in their 80s, who can still follow a complex conversation and recall the name of someone they just met and figure out how their grandchild's new phone works, they didn't get there by luck. They got there because somewhere along the way, they decided the world was still worth being curious about. They kept reading things that made them think. They kept playing games that required strategy. They kept having real conversations about real ideas with real people. They kept learning. And the ones who started pulling back, who stopped trying new things because new things felt like too much effort, who let the television become the primary relationship of their day, I could see the difference in them. Not all at once, not dramatically, but steadily, quietly, the light behind the eyes would dim a little. So here's your honest check for this one. In the last 30 days, did you genuinely learn something you didn't know before? A new recipe, a new word, a new card game, how to video call someone, the name of a bird you'd never noticed. And I want to be clear, I'm not talking about some grand intellectual achievement. I'm talking about the habit of staying open. That's all it is. One new thing. Because the moment we stop asking questions and stop trying things, that is the moment the mind starts to go quiet. And here is the beautiful, hopeful part. You can wake it back up. I had a patient in 79 years old, never touched a piano in her life, who decided to start taking lessons. 2 years later, her family called me just to tell me she seemed sharper than she'd been in years. That wasn't some miracle. That was a brain doing exactly what brains do when we finally ask something of them. So if that one stings a little, if you're sitting there and you can't think of a single new thing you've learned recently, don't take that as a judgment. Take it as an invitation, because this is the one sign on this list you can do something about before you even finish watching this video. Now let's move on and let's get physical. Let me ask you something simple that you can try right now. Can you stand up from the chair you're sitting in without using your hands? I know that sounds almost too easy. I know some of you are already laughing, but I want you to actually try it if you can do so safely. Cross your arms over your chest, feet flat on the floor, and just use your legs to stand straight up. No pushing off the armrests, no bracing on your knees, just your legs. Go ahead. I'll wait. Now. Here's why that matters so much. And it's not just about leg strength, though that's certainly part of it. That movement, that one simple thing, tells me about the power in your quadriceps and your hip flexors and your glutes. It tells me about neuromuscular coordination. It tells me whether your brain and your muscles are still communicating efficiently. And it tells me something about your risk for the single most dangerous thing that can happen to someone over 70, which is a fall. We don't talk about falls the way we should. People hear the word and they think, oh, that's something that happens to frail elderly people in nursing homes. But falls are the leading cause of injury-related death in older adults, and they happen to perfectly active, independent people all the time. One moment, one uneven patch of floor, 1 second of instability, and everything changes. The leg strength it takes to rise from a chair is the same strength that catches you when you start to slip. It is your body's first line of defense. If you stood up smoothly and easily, wonderful, genuinely, that's your body doing its job. If you had to rock forward a couple of times or grab the armrest, or if you couldn't quite make it, please hear me. That is not a permanent sentence. Leg strength is one of the most responsive things in the entire human body. It responds to training at every age. I have patients in their late 80s who have rebuilt meaningful leg strength in a matter of weeks, just by sitting down slowly and standing back up deliberately. That's it. No gym, no equipment, no drama. Just the simple, honest work of using what you have. So that's 2 signs so far. Let's keep going. Here's one that surprises people every time I bring it up. It has nothing to do with your legs or your memory or anything most people associate with getting older. It's about your hands. Can you still open a firmly sealed jar? Can you carry your grocery bags in from the car in one trip, bags pulling at your fingers, without having to set everything down halfway? The strength in your hands, your grip, is something researchers have been studying for years now, and what they keep finding is genuinely striking. Grip strength is one of the most reliable indicators we have of overall physical health, not just hand health, overall health. The strength in your hands tends to mirror the strength throughout your entire body, in your muscles, in your bones, even in your cardiovascular system. When grip stays strong, it almost always means the underlying machinery is still running well. It's a remarkably accurate proxy for what's happening everywhere else. So here's your check. Find a jar that's on good and tight. See what happens. Or just make a fist right now and squeeze as hard as you can for 5 seconds. Notice the quality of it. Does it feel powerful and sure, or does it feel uncertain and weak? If your grip is strong, take that seriously as a positive sign. It means you've held onto muscle, and holding onto muscle as we age is one of the most protective things a body can do. And if your hands have gotten weaker, the good news is that grip responds to simple daily effort faster than almost anything else. Keep a soft ball or even a rolled up sock near your chair and squeeze it while you watch television. Open your own jars even when it's a struggle. Carry your own bags when you can. Doing things for someone out of love can quietly take away the very strength that keeps them independent. It is absolutely okay to let someone open their own jars. That small effort, is maintenance. Now, let's talk about something I call the sixth vital sign. You know the five traditional vital signs: heart rate, blood pressure, temperature, breathing rate, and oxygen levels. Well, in geriatric medicine, we have a sixth one, and it is this: how you walk. Not whether you walk, how. The speed, the steadiness, the ease of it. Study after study has shown that walking pace in older adults is one of the most predictive measures we have for long-term health outcomes. Longevity, independence, hospitalizations, all of it. The people who maintain a good, comfortable walking pace tend to live longer and healthier and more independent lives than those who slow significantly. Your walk is essentially a live readout of your heart, lungs, muscles, and balance. Your walk is essentially a live readout of your heart, your lungs, your muscles, and your balance all at once. When all those systems are working together the way they should, walking feels easy. When things start to break down, the walk is often the first place it shows up. First, your breathing. At a comfortable pace, are you able to carry on a normal conversation without gasping? Second, your feet. Are you picking them up cleanly, or have you noticed a shuffling quality to your step where the feet don't quite clear the floor? Here's what I want you to pay attention to the next time you take a walk, even just down a hallway. First, your breathing. At a comfortable pace, are you able to carry on a normal conversation without gasping? If you're getting significantly breathless just walking across a parking lot, that is worth mentioning to a doctor. Protect that. Feed it with daily movement. And if walking has gotten harder, please don't accept that as just getting old. That is a signal. Walk every day if you possibly can, even 5 minutes. Walking is the closest thing to a miracle drug medicine has found. Second, your feet. Are you picking them up cleanly, or have you noticed a shuffling quality to your step where the feet don't quite clear the floor? A shuffling gait is something we watch carefully because it dramatically increases fall risk. And third, your confidence. Are you walking with your head up and your gaze forward, or are you watching your feet with every step? All right, let's talk about something that happens to you every single night and that most people are getting completely, quietly wrong. Sleep. On most mornings, do you wake up feeling like the night actually did something for you? Free, accessible, and powerful, far beyond what most people realize. And if your breathing feels truly labored, or if you ever feel tightness in your chest during activity, please promise me you'll bring that to your own doctor. That one is worth a real conversation. We rose earlier. We rise earlier. We may not get the long, uninterrupted stretches we had at 40. That is biologically normal. What we're looking for is whether sleep is doing its actual job, because what real, restorative sleep does is extraordinary. Now, let me head off a very common worry before it takes root. As we age, sleep does change. It becomes lighter. We tend to wake more often. We rise earlier. We may not get the long, uninterrupted stretches we had at 40. That is biologically normal, and it is not cause for alarm. What we're looking for is not perfect teenage sleep. We're looking for whether sleep is doing its actual job. Sleep is not passive. When sleep consistently breaks down, the effects ripple outward into everything else. Mood destabilizes, memory sharpens less well, inflammation climbs, heart health suffers. Chronic poor sleep is an underappreciated risk factor. While you rest, the body is doing repair work. Your waking hours simply don't allow. Muscle is rebuilt. Inflammation is reduced. The immune system resets. And the brain does something remarkable. It clears itself of the metabolic waste that accumulates throughout the day, the byproducts of all that thinking and processing, and it consolidates memory. And if sleep has become a struggle, please know there are real, evidence-based things that help, behavioral approaches, and sometimes a medical conversation to rule out conditions like sleep apnea, which is far more common in older adults than most realize. If your sleep is genuinely good on most nights, guard it like it's precious because it is. Keep consistent sleep and wake times, even on weekends. Keep your bedroom cool and dark. Give yourself a calm half hour away from bright screens before bed. Those habits protect what you've built. If you're somewhere safe right now, near a counter, a sturdy table, lift one foot just a few inches off the ground. See how long you can hold it. 10 seconds is the benchmark I'm looking for. Then switch sides. What you just tested isn't really your feat. Don't simply accept poor sleep as your fate. It isn't. Now here's one that I want you to try standing up for, carefully. And if you're not steady on your feet today, just watch along and come back to this one another time. I want to talk about balance. Specifically, can you stand on one foot? It's what keeps you from going down when you slip on a wet floor. And like so many things we've talked about today, it quietly fades if we don't ask something of it. If you held it steady for 10 seconds or close to it, genuinely excellent, that system is intact and working. What you just tested isn't really your feet. It's your entire vestibular and proprioceptive system, the intricate network of signals from your inner ear, your joints, your muscles, and your brain that work in constant automatic coordination to keep you upright. That system is what catches you when you step off a curb you didn't see. It's what keeps you from going down when you slip on a wet floor. If you wobbled significantly or couldn't hold it at all, don't be disheartened. Balance is the single most trainable thing on this entire list. It responds to practice with remarkable speed, simply standing at your kitchen counter once or twice a day and lifting one foot for a few seconds, even 2 or 3 seconds at first, and building from there. Doing it every time you brush your teeth. Over a few weeks, the body relearns it. It remembers. If you wobbled significantly or couldn't hold it at all, don't be disheartened. Balance is the single most trainable thing on this entire list. It responds to practice with remarkable speed, simply standing at your kitchen counter once or twice a day and lifting one foot for a few seconds, even 2 or 3 seconds at first, and building from there. Doing it every time you brush your teeth. Over a few weeks, the body relearns it. It remembers. Now we come to the last one, and I want to tell you up front, this is the one I've seen matter most. More than any test or measurement in my office, more than any of the 6 we've already talked about. I have watched people whose bodies were holding together beautifully, simply fade. I want to say something about why this one matters so deeply beyond the obvious. Balance isn't really about balance, it's about freedom. It's about being able to cross your own kitchen floor at 2 in the morning without a second thought. It's about living in your own home, on your own terms, for as long as you want to. Fools are what take that away. And balance training is one of the most direct, effective things we know of for preventing them. It is an investment in your independence, made a few seconds at a time. And is there at least one person in your life who would genuinely notice if you went quiet? I'm talking about purpose, and I'm talking about connection. Real connection. Not acquaintances, but someone who knows you, someone you talk to, someone whose life includes yours. We have known for a long time, anecdotally, intuitively, that lonely people don't do as well. But the research that has come out in recent years has made this not just a soft feeling, but a hard medical fact. Persistent loneliness and social isolation are associated with measurable increases in inflammation, in cognitive decline, in cardiovascular disease, in mortality. Some researchers have estimated that chronic loneliness carries health risks comparable to smoking, and it is extraordinarily common in adults over 70, often invisibly so, because people don't want to admit it and because the world doesn't always make it easy. I think about a man I cared for who lost his wife of 50 years. I genuinely worried about him, not just because of grief, but because of what happens physiologically when a person loses their primary source of connection. What brought him back, and I don't say this lightly, wasn't any medication I prescribed. It was a standing Tuesday morning breakfast with two other men from his church, three old men, eggs, bad coffee, the same table every week. That was it, and it was everything. His health turned around, his mood stabilized. He lived well for years. So here is your final honest check. Is there something in your life that needs you, something that gives your days a shape? So here is your final honest check. Is there something in your life that needs you, something that gives your days a shape? A garden, a volunteer role, a grandchild you're involved with, a creative project, an animal who depends on you? And is there at least one person, one D, who would call if they hadn't heard from you in a few days? Don't let the natural drift of life let those threads go slack. And if the honest answer is no, I want you to hear this, not as a verdict, but as the most actionable piece of information I've given you today. Because connection, like balance, can be rebuilt. One small, deliberate step at a time. Call one person this week, just to hear their voice and let them hear yours. Say yes to one thing you'd normally turn down. Walk somewhere with people in it. Find one place where your presence is expected and welcomed, a class, a group, a regular table somewhere. And if all of that feels like too much right now, start smaller. A letter to someone you've lost touch with, a longer conversation with the person at the checkout counter, a wave that becomes a word that becomes a few minutes on the front step. Connection is a habit. All right, let's bring all of this together. 7 signs that you are aging better than most people your age. A mind that is still curious and still learning. Legs strong enough to rise from a chair without your hands. A grip that still means business. A walk that is steady and easy and leaves you with breath to spare. Sleep that actually restores you. Balance steady enough to stand on one foot. And a life that has purpose and people in it. Sleep that restores you, balance steady enough to stand on one foot, and a life that has purpose and people in it. How did you do? If most of those things are still solidly in place for you, I want you to hear me say this clearly. You are doing beautifully. How did you do? If you went through that list and most of those things are still solidly in place for you, I want you to hear me say this clearly and without qualification. You are doing beautifully, far better than most, and not by accident. That's the result of choices and habits that have accumulated over years. Be proud of them, keep protecting them. I want you to sit with this for a moment. Not one of these signs is fixed. Every single one of them responds to effort. The body at 70, at 80, at 90, it is still listening. It still answers when you call on it. The only thing it needs is for you to start. And if you found yourself struggling with several of these, maybe 3 or 4 or more didn't go the way you hoped, I want you to sit with this for a moment. Not one of these signs is fixed. Every single one of them responds to effort. The body at 70, at 80, at 90, it is still listening. It still answers when you call on it. The only thing it needs is for you to start. Not Monday, not when you feel more ready. Today, with one small thing. Not one big dramatic intervention, just small, honest, consistent things, done with care, over time. The people I have watched age most gracefully were never the ones waiting for perfect conditions or perfect motivation. They were the ones who kept showing up. 1 chair stand before dinner tonight. 10 seconds at the counter tomorrow morning. 1 phone call this week to someone whose voice you've been missing. That's the whole secret of aging well. Not one big dramatic intervention. Just small, honest, consistent things done with care over time. The people I have watched age most gracefully were never the ones waiting for perfect conditions or perfect motivation. They were the ones who kept showing up for themselves, imperfectly and stubbornly, day after day. That can be you. starting right now. I genuinely believe that, and I've seen it enough times to know it's true. Take good care of yourself. I mean that. And I'll see you in the next one.